What's up, everyone? My name is Blue, and we are back with some more malicious compliance posts, following the rules to a letter to make your situation better. If you haven't yet, please consider subscribing to the channel. And with that, let's get into it. You want to flaunt stupid rules at a then soon-to-be lawyer? Two can play this game. I just discovered this subreddit today, and I have to say, I never related so much to a topic. I had never heard the term malicious compliance, but I have loads of stories. This is one of them. I was in my final year of law school. As part of our curriculum, we had to accrue a certain number of hours of out-of-class course-related activities. It was a pretty high number of hours, but if you sort of planned to do them over the course of the years, it wasn't so bad. Anyway, there was a list of the activity types you could use to fulfill this requirement: attending conferences, publishing a paper, writing a report on a lecture, etc. But there were caps on the number of hours you could accrue in each category, so you couldn't just do one thing. The highest cap was for law-related internships, almost 50% of the total requirement. So I planned around that and got into an internship in my final year, which would get me above the required number of hours. You had to log your hours in an online system, which required you to fill the beginning and end dates for the activity and the number of hours you wished to log. As internships here usually don't have a fixed end date, only a maximum of 2 years, but the company or I could terminate it early. I thought I would just file the paperwork as soon as I finished the internship, and it would be golden. However, as soon as I did that, the system rejected my request, stating that I should have filed everything before the end of my internship. I figured this was pretty dumb, since anyone logging internship hours wouldn't know the end date or total hours before the end of their internship. So I went to the university's law department, which I thought would immediately correct this obvious mistake, right? Wrong. I basically got told tough luck by the professor in charge, and that I should have applied with a fictitious end date and amount of hours before I finished the internship if I wasn't sure of when I was going to leave it. At this point, I'm super anxious, as this internship represents about 50% of the hours I needed to graduate. I wasn't going to be able to make up for that before my graduation date, and I had already passed the bar exam. In my country, you can take it your final year of law school. And then it dawned on me. It was so simple I thought it surely wouldn't work. If they wanted me to fill the online form with made-up data, then by all means, that's what I would do. I logged back into the system and filled out the same information for my internship, but I put the end date in the future. When the system approved the request, I submitted my paperwork with a note. As per instructions of Professor Z, I hereby request an amendment to the end date of my internship period according to the attached documents. Got full credit for the hours I needed, graduated on time, have been working as a lawyer for the past 10 years. Edit, too long didn't read. Law school tried to screw me and delay my graduation. I played their game and won. Edit 2. Wow. I wrote this and went to bed, and it blew up overnight. Thank you for the awards, people. You are amazing. Edit 3. For the people who are concerned that this report doesn't belong in malicious compliance, please read this subreddit's description. People conforming to the letter, but not the spirit of a request. You don't need to leave someone else in a bad spot for it to be malicious compliance. Man, I'm glad everything worked out for our poster. I think they could have gone back into the system and used a couple of hours of fixing the system as evidence to them being like a good lawyer. I mean, that's extracurricular. And in the end, their argument won. Okay, band, we'll pay you what you want. This is my father-in-law's story, but he is too blind and uninterested in social media to post himself. This takes place in the 1970s. He was a drummer and played shows all over the country, USA, and even toured Canada for a good while. He set up a show for his band to play, and it was going to be $1 a person and all-you-can-drink beer. They also hired another band, headed by a guy named Dan. For the show, they rented out a hall and put out the word that there was going to be this awesome show. When making arrangements for the other band, namely pay rates, my father-in-law offered that they could split the costs and split the total earnings between them. Dan declined, stating he wanted his band to get $50 and they wouldn't help with costs. Father-in-law offers again. Dan refuses. Fine, on with the show. The show gets wild, with people literally climbing through windows. They had so many people coming in and out, they stopped charging the door and just let people come and go. The malicious compliance. At the end of the night, my father-in-law approaches Dan and with a big smile pulls out a huge wad of cash. He says big enough to strangle a cow, peels $50 off it, and hands the 50 to Dan, and says, "Here's your 50. Thanks, man," and walks away, splitting the rest of the money with his bandmates. The four of them got $80 each. See, Dan needed the lawyer from the first story to negotiate a better contract, something like $50 or half of whatever, whichever ends up being more. See, that's the smarts. But nope, you wanted $50, you got $50. Congratulations. Reach class on time, but you hate the smell. I will make you regret it. This happened years ago, 2006 to 2009 era. So I went to a school with separate sections for boys and girls, but we weren't secluded completely, and some elective classes were mixed. There was this Karen teacher, F, who really disliked boys. She always called us dirty and loud and yucky, and would hit us hard and pinch us if any one of us dared to talk back to her. We had her class mixed with girls, and they all would laugh at us boys for getting the drill and getting humiliated in front of them. The teacher actually enjoyed this, and she would purposefully find excuses to have us shamed and beaten for minor issues, like asking your friend for a pen. While the girls yapped away and chatted with the teacher, she could not bear to hear us say a word. We were never given any opportunity to speak or answer questions, and she made sure the most difficult passages were given to read to this one boy with speaking difficulty. You get the idea. Basic POS person. All of this behavior really ticked me off and made my blood boil with anger. But I never got any punishment because it was a language class, and I had always been the topper of the class. Even her own daughter, who was with us in the same class, couldn't get past me. One year, we happened to have her class right after phys ed. Now, we didn't have any rules as to what was to be done in phys ed class, but we did get laps and push-ups, after which we were off to play cricket for the next 2 whole hours. The playground was a bit of a distance from the classrooms, and it was shared by the high school and our middle school. It took about 3 minutes to reach her class from the playground. She hated that we were sweaty and reeked of body odor first day we came to class after we had our PE. She immediately went to the supervisor to have our schedule changed, where she got turned down. But she wasn't going to give up. I could see the hatred in her eyes burning brighter with every stinky breath she took in our class. Next, she implemented a rule saying that no one was allowed to be late more than 1 minute after the start, or they would be marked absent and had their marks cut. Fair enough, I thought. I talked to the teacher who had his period before our phys ed class, and he was willing to let us go early in exchange for working on a project for his class. I told the boys about my plan. We went to the ground half an hour early, played like hell as usual, got all sweaty, and then poured water all over ourselves to cool us off, and rushed off to her class and were right on time, all soaking wet with soggy, disgusting, putrid training shoes, standing in a line in front of the classroom that only she had the keys to. We even took off our socks and kept them in our pockets just to make it smell extra bad. This was literal torture for her, as she had the full blast of the smell because it was a teeny tiny classroom and the boys were made to sit in the front as a rule for mixed gender classes. We made the excuse that we couldn't dry off because she marked us absent since we had to be at our lockers and the playground was not nearby and all of our lockers were out of the way. We kept at this for a full 6 weeks, after which she gave up and exchanged classes with a male teacher. We never gave him much trouble. He allowed us the keys and we were crisp and cool sitting in front of the AC ready for the class. Best revenge I ever had. Edit. It was 7th grade, and it was an Indian-owned school with kids from all over the world in Middle East. I don't know what would be worse, the smell of nasty, wet, sweaty socks, or what my teachers had to deal with, which was every single scent of Axe body spray all mixing together in a tornado of trouble. And that's all the time we have today for these malicious compliance stories. If you liked any of the stories, make sure to click that like button, and if you could relate to them, make sure to tell us in the comments down below. Also, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any more stories. Thanks for listening, everyone. Catch you later.